Hey, it's Mr. Johns. Welcome to episode 2 of our Happy Flappy Bird game in Scratch. And if you haven't done episode 1 yet, please go back and view that. Really, in that episode, we just uploaded all the graphics. And we may not have covered all of them. Since that point, I have some new categories of graphics. And so let's go over that real quick just to make sure that we're on the same page. You should have a category of sprite called Flappy. Under Flappy, you have additional costumes, and they can be called Flappy 1, Flappy 2, Flappy 3, or they can just be called Costume 1, Costume 2, Costume 3, etc. It doesn't matter what you call them, but the category is called Flappy. So that's just, you can call it character, you can call it player, So just so you know, you can call the sprite category whatever you want, but the costume names are what matter. We use those in the coding. All right, we have a second category called pillars, and so you can upload as many of these as possible, as many of these as you want to, I should say. If you only want to do the first columns, great. You don't have to do additional levels. That would be, for my students, it will be extra credit. You can just use what I've called Costume 7, and you can completely rename that something else, so it makes sense. Because my other ones are called Cacti Both and Seaweed 2. This one's just called Costume 7. So in the jumble of coding and downloading and doing graphics, they just get named a bunch of different things. So again, the category is called Pillars. The costumes are called whatever you want to call them. And then those names need to show up in the coding. Luckily, when you change the name, it really shows up. It's like a drop-down option, so it's not a big deal. All right, I have since added a new category called Title Screen. It has one graphic, and what I want you to do is upload that. And if you're not sure where that is, for my students, it's in our Google Classroom in a shared folder. I'm going to try to put that in YouTube as files down below as soon as I get the chance to. Upload this title screen, and where it says click to begin, spacebar or mouse button to play, and then it has my name. Simply take the eraser tool and erase it, and then use the text tool and just type in your name right there. Oh, you could type in by Mr. Johns, by Mike Smith, something like that. Okay. You can move it around, you can center it, whatever, but have your name there, please. Okay. And yes, there's some coding that goes along with that, but we'll get to that later. There's a category called music. It has two sprites. One is basically music on and one is music off. They're just called Costume 1, Costume 2. I could do a better job naming those. I mean, I really should call them on and off or play and mute. But, the graphics themselves give it away what they are. So I haven't bothered to do that. So, and yes, there's some coding involved in that too. We're not going to get there quite yet. Fifth category is called pause button. And we just have a pause button. And underneath of that, we have a screen that pops up. And that's huge. So we need to change the size of that, I think. It actually doesn't change it in I'm going to keep it 80%. Because we want it to show up at 80%. But in this, I know what we can do. We can just zoom out. There we go. So there it is. That's what it looks like. Paused, it says, hey, you're paused. Click or press the spacebar to continue. Okay. All right. We have a category called ground, and there are 16 different sprites that all look very much alike. Now they're not. If you click through them, you can see there's some minor changes in it, maybe a little bit. I mean, I wish there was more animation. I'm not going to take the time to go in and paint all the grass blades different. No. But it would be nice if there was more animation. but there's not. So just have a category called ground with those 16 sprites as costumes. And then there's a category called score. This is simply a screen that says, here's your personal high, your world record, and your score. I really don't like personal high. Sounds like a drug reference. I'd like to change that to like high score. And really all you have to do is erase it and type the text tool and type in high score. You can change the color if you want. You know, the font's different, so it means now I'm pretty committed to having to do all of them. So I want that to be sitting right next to the high score right there. I'm going to go ahead and do it because we're here. So I should have left it alone, right? High score, and then, excuse me. Isn't that what that is high score? I mean, world record, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get rid of, this changes everything, but I don't like world record because I'm not publishing this for everybody to see. So I think what I'm going to do is go high score right there. And I'm going to, I hate when I make decisions like this because it changes stuff. I really would like to just put the word score, and I'm trying to type around my microphone, sorry. Never have found a great place for my microphone to sit. So we're going to highlight that and then just move it. So if we have score and high score, that's probably pretty good. However, I have a feeling that I'm going to have to move those graphics. Yeah, there's some things I'm going to have to do. Okay, so set it up however you like. I should have left it alone. But this is something that was bugging me for a while. So I want score, so it's going to keep track of how many pillars I go through. And then my high score would be the best score, the most I was able to do. All right, so those are the categories, and we'll fix that stuff later. But right now, and in this episode, we are going to code Flappy. All right, so click on Flappy and then go to code. And I've already done all the coding that works, and I know it works. I've tested it. This is what the game looks like. So you notice that the first level, the pillars are like Flappy Bird pillars. Whoops, I died. When you hit a pillar or the ground, you die. Level 2, which is the background changes to desert. And the pillars change to cactus. Level 3 is, I think, underwater. But there's a couple errors still I need to work out. One is like it only goes back to the sky like this. I'll show you. Whoa. Not sure what that was. I'll show you. I need to make it through 5 pillars. Oh, I'm terrible. All right, so level 1, the gaps are bigger in the pillars, so it's easier. So even an old guy like me can do it. Okay, and then here we have the gaps get smaller, then the gaps get smaller, and so I don't know why it does the pause thing. I think I messed up the pause. Okay, so several things I need to fix on this, but you guys are okay to go ahead and get going on the coding for Flappy, and I'll fix these issues in later episodes. What are the issues? Well, when you die, it doesn't go back to the first level. It should, I think. And I guess that's a philosophical question. When you die, should you always go back to level 1? Or when you die, should you go back to where you died? You know, right now, I mean, I think it should go back. Personally, I think it should go back to where the sky was blue and the gaps were the biggest, and you start over every time. So I'd like to fix that, and I think I should. Looks like there's some kind of pause problem going on. I'm not really sure what that is about. See, it shouldn't pause right there. I don't know why it paused. So I've got some issues with that. But But that's just something I just created myself recently. And then, okay, let's go ahead and jump into Flappy Bird. So Flappy has a bunch of code. It's all necessary. Okay. The better you get at coding, the more you understand the code, obviously, but the more efficient you want to be. Right now I am not fluent in coding languages for sure. So I pretty much have to keep things the way I know they work. I do like to play around with things and change numbers and drag and drop a few things, but if I mess it up, I'm in trouble, right? So someone who really understands the code knows that, oh, I don't need that. They can just delete it. I'm not that confident yet. And the only way to get there is trial and error. Make a backup copy. I like to do this a lot. Just go File, Save as a Copy. So you have like the original version, and then you have one that you can just mess with. So that's just a little piece of advice. All right, let's go ahead and start with Flappy and his code. I recommend you either keep up with me or you pause the video where you can see a good section of the code block and get it all done, and then unpause me and continue. Okay, and I'm going to explain some of this as we go. I don't understand all of it, and some of it isn't necessary to really understand why it works and what it does internally in the gaming. All right, so start with a when clicked. So it's a bright yellow block here. When clicked, show everything. Set Y to 0. Y is up and down. So you notice that when you hit start, Flappy starts right in the middle of the screen, Y, on the Y coordinate. Set the score to 0, basically reset the score to 0 and your personal high, which now, I guess it's still called personal high in the coding. I may change that later. It doesn't really matter. I mostly just didn't want to see personal high here. I think it'd just be score and high score. Makes a lot more sense to me. I like that better. So, but for now, let's keep set score to 0, set personal high to 0. Okay. I did delete world record. So if we come across any world record, which we will, it's right down here, we're going to delete that. Okay. A world record is if we were sharing this with everybody and it was published and anybody from around the world could play it and their high score would stay. That would be a world record, but we're not doing that, so we don't need it. All right, let's continue. So we're telling Flappy, remember this is all Flappy code. So we're telling Flappy, when we start the game, when we click the green flag, go to X minus 145, Y 0. This is that location right there. You want to change that number, go for it. It's kind of fun to see what it does, where it goes. But this is, I think, a good place for the character to start. If it was a running game and he needed to be on the grass, you would find the location of this and you would type those numbers in. Okay, but for now, we want him to start flying right there. We want him to point in direction 90, which means to the right. So have him point that direction. We're going to start the game by having him in costume 1, which in this case is just his wings are in a certain location, and it's one of 6 animated costumes. Okay, so start with costume 1. Wait until start equals 0. Now start, this orange oval means it's an orange variable. And if you haven't created these variables yet, do so. Okay, you just click on make a variable and you type these words in. Okay, this little icon next to world record with the cloud, that means it's like a cloud saved public, shared concept, so that when it is shared, and I've unshared it, but when it was shared, everybody could play it, and the high score, the world record, would stay. Okay. All right. Anyway, back to coding. So wait until start equals 1, and then we have a forever loop. So a forever loop says everything inside this is going to happen forever, over and over again, until you end the game or Flappy dies or whatever else you want to stop it. So inside the forever loop, we're going to say, hey, if, and this is an if-then statement, it's called if-then, if the mouse is pressed and flap stop equals 0 or the space bar is pressed, then, Okay, don't worry about the flap stop. Just focus on if you're pressing the mouse button or the space bar, then, okay, and there's a bunch of stuff underneath of that. Wait until pause equals 0. If pause equals 0 and flap stop equals 0, then if flap stop equals 0, then, yes, repetition, right? There's a lot of repetition, and this is the stuff that to me doesn't make a lot of sense because it's not logical to me, but it works. So you just need it, okay? If flap stop equals 0, then set Y, which is the up and down, to 9.5, okay? Wait until pause equals 0, and then wait until the mouse button is not, so it's not mouse button or not spacebar, okay? And that whole code block reads as wait until not mouse down or key space pressed. So there's that code block right there. It's a big code block, but make sure you get all of that typed in. And if you think that's big code block, we're going to get to a much longer one shortly. All right, luckily this one is a short one, but we may have to make some changes here. So let's take a look at it. When clicked, here's a forever loop. Forever, do this. Well, if your score is better than the world record, then set the world record to score. Okay, now we're not using a world record, so I'm going to delete that. And I'm going to separate it so I can just dump that. And it was that easy. So what we have left is if your score, and that's the score that you get as you're playing, if it's better than the high score, and see that's, I don't love personal high. Can I change that? Of course I can. I can, and notice that the personal high is that one. It's right here. This is personal high. So I should put that over here. I should get rid of this. Can I just dump it? Let's see. Can I delete it? How do I delete that? Give me a second to figure out why I can't delete 126. That's probably under world record. It is. I'm going to delete that. Let's see. Delete. Delete that variable. When I deleted it, the score also deleted, so that's good. I'm not really sure now what this goes to. Let's see here. Personal high. I didn't love the name of that, so I'm going to right-click and delete it. I hate doing that. But I'm going to because I want a new variable called high score. It's so much better than personal high. High score. Okay, and here's the cloud variable, by the way, where it stores on server. That's how you choose that to be a public thing, which we're not going to do. All right, now we have, look at this. This actually comes with the, I like that. I don't need, let's go back to, sorry I'm bouncing around a little bit, making some last minute changes. I don't like, oh, there we go. I don't need that screen. I'm going to delete that screen, totally. So never mind about the sprite that's called score, because what I'm going to do is create variables. This is under Flappy. I think, yes, Flappy. And we have a variable called high score that is being shown in the upper right. And, oh, score is already down here. So here's what we're going to do. So we have a variable called score and a variable called high score. I like those so much better. I don't have to type anything in on the title screen. It's just there. And the reason they show up is because I've checked these two boxes next to the two check marks. Makes them visible. Okay, I feel better. Do you feel better? I do. So that's what's important. All right, let's go back to Flappy code. Okay, is this going to work though? If score is greater than high score. Okay, so if your score is, if your current score playing the game is better than the high score, then, oh, then what? Then I deleted that. What did it say? Then, oh, it's like an equal thing. And then, oh boy, I'm gonna have to remember. I think I know it. I think I know it. This is from memory, totally from memory here. So this is if score is greater than high score, then notice how sometimes things just don't fit. So you know that you need a different code. So this has to be, what's that going to be? I'm looking. I'm trying to think what we need to use to. It's going to have to be a yellow code block. Pretty sure yellow. If then, and then we just need the answer, which is to change. Thinking this through, people. That's what coding is. So I don't think I have any more options up here. I don't think. Because we need like a change. No. I don't think it's any of this blue. I think it's yellow. What we're trying to do here? We're saying, hey, if your score is greater than the high score, then, and I shouldn't have deleted the code because it was right in front of me and I deleted it. I thought I understood what I needed. If your score is greater than the high score, then high score equals your score. High score equals, that's all it is. High score equals, and I need an equals thing, but I need something to put it in. So it's going to be, if your score is greater than the high score, then basically make your score, score equals, if your score is the high score. That's it. That's all you have to do right there. So because if it's greater than the high score, then make your score equal high score. Make your score equal high score. No, make your high score equal score. Pretty sure. There we go. That's my logic. And I'm sticking to it. But I need something to stick this in right there. What? It has to be diamond shaped. So process of elimination, people. We're looking for like a code block that has diamond options here. Now this is desperation here. See, all these allow that. Repeat until, wait until, nope. If then else, nope. If then, and then we just need an answer. If then, has to be diamond shaped. See, that's why the yellow ones are diamond shaped inserts and the other ones aren't. So that's why I know it's a yellow one right here. If then, what am I missing? Is it a variable thing? Set. Oh, it could be a set. It could be a set. If your score is greater than a high score, set the high score to score. I'm pretty sure that's it. We could try it. Let's find out. That's the great thing about coding. Try it. Okay, there's 1 point. And is it working? Okay. Yes, it is. So let me crash. Okay. So my score is 5 and the high score is 5. Let's see if we can beat 5. Okay, that's not working. The pause thing is driving me crazy. Yeah, I screwed something up. Pause. I'm going to get rid of the pause button. Okay, I just caused way more problem for me. But it's gone. Okay, I have to beat 5. 5's the high score. Oh, it would help if I was good. Oh, it would help if I was decent at this game, but I'm not. It's terrible. You guys are just laughing at me because I can't play Flappy Bird on the easiest level that I made. That's embarrassing. Okay, there we go. Now, did it work? Look at that. Score is 7, and now the high score is 7. Okay, I would say that was a success. Okay, and I had to code on the fly, and it still worked. That's excellent. One of the things I love about coding is the problem solving, and when it works, it's like, I did that, and I love that. When it doesn't work, I don't like it so much. So, okay, so, all right, let's go back to where we were. High score, we're good with that. Next code block. When clicked, forever, if the sound equals 0, then set the volume to 0. Or else, oh, wait a minute, where'd that else come from? Notice that there is a block. We use if then a lot, but there's also an if then else. So this one is an if then else. Okay, if the sound equals 0, then set the volume to 0. Or else set it to 40. And this is depending on how loud you want the game to be for you, you can change that. Okay, all right, next code block. This is important because this animates Flappy. So when you click, when clicked, switch the costume to costume 1 or Flappy 1. That's the first Flappy costume. And then forever, wait until pause equals 0. Okay, so it's not paused. The game is not paused. And then go to the next costume. Wait 0.05 seconds and then do it again. Where does it say do it again? Well, it's a forever loop, so it's just going to do it again. And so what it does is every 5/100ths of a second, it switches costumes. So it's Flappy 1, Flappy 2, Flappy 3, Flappy 4, Flappy 5, Flappy 6, Flappy 1, Flappy 2, Flappy 3, Flappy 4, Flappy 5, Flappy 6, Flappy 1, Flappy 2. Okay, say that 100 times fast. So that's what it does, and you have just created a code block that animates Flappy. It would be the same thing with Mario walking. Walk 1, walk 2, walk 3, walk 1, walk 2, walk 3, walk 1. You know, it's just repeated animation. So that's how you make cartoons or animations in Scratch. Next code block. When I receive restart. Now, what's this when I receive thing? Well, it's bright yellow. So when I receive, and if it's not listed as an option, click on new message and type in restart. So now you have a restart. When I receive restart, go to -145.0. That's the starting location. Clear all graphics effects, clear graphics effects. Set game over to 0, set start to 1, set Y to 0, and show. Okay, so finish that code block, please. Next code block. When clicked, clear graphics effects. Now, wait a minute, didn't I just clear graphics effects? Yes, I did. So this is an example of probably I don't need both of those. I'm pretty sure, but here's the difference. This one says when I receive restart, then do it. This one says when I click on the green flag, then do it. Those are two separate situations, and so I'm not going to change that right now. Okay, so when clicked, clear graphics effects, set start to 0, wait until start equals 0. Okay, for those of you new to Scratch coding, you notice that you have to build a lot of these code blocks. And so you have to kind of go find what you need and stack them, build them, make them look exactly like these. And in some cases, it's pretty complicated. There's a lot of stacks and levels of things, and you have to create it. It's kind of like a puzzle. I think it's fun, but you have to create it and make it look just like the examples. All right. We have a forever loop. If pause equals 0, change Y by -0.9. That means he's going to drop a little bit. Okay, change Y by Y. Anytime you see these round orange things, that's a variable. You just have to go find it and drop it into the code block. Okay, point in direction 90 minus Y. So anytime you see a green thing with math, it's an operator. Okay. And you just drag it over. Excuse me. Okay, so now we're talking about how he dies. If, this is an if then. If touching the ground or touching the pillars. Okay, that sounds like death to Flappy. Wait until pause equals 0. Set the game over to 1. Okay, so 1 must be yes. in this case, set game over to 1. All right, now so if 1 is yes, 0 means no, right? So wait until pause is not, okay? Wait till the game's not paused. Set the game to over, set game over to 1. Broadcast game over. Okay, now this is a broadcast thing. What's that? Again, bright yellow. Find the broadcast option. That's a wait and wait. If it's not an option, new message, okay, and type in bright. Now in this case, I don't think we're going to use bright. I think that has been deleted long ago, but for now I'm going to keep it in, okay? So broadcast game over, broadcast bright. If the sound equals 100, then start the punch sound. Okay, so this is all related to crashing and dying. And so I'm using the punch sound for crashing, only because I think it sounds like he's running into something pretty violently. You could definitely change that to anything else if you like something better. It's kind of fun sometimes to use your own sounds, but for me, that just makes the most sense. So punch, okay? All right, so you can see so far the logic is, hey, if you hit the ground or the pillars, game over, dude, and make the sound punch, okay? Skip a line, go to repeat this next thing 5 times, so repeat 5. Wait until pause equals 0. Change ghost effect by 20, and then hide him. So what that means is he's going to kind of ghost out or kind of fade out and then hide. That's it. I mean, that kind of makes sense, right? Next code block. Don't panic, or maybe panic a little bit. This one is long, okay? So stay with me, and I'm going to share how I do this without going crazy. We have another when clicked block. Go to x -45, 0. That's the starting point again. Now you're going to see a whole bunch of those. And so you don't go crazy, separate this, drag this over, and right click, duplicate, right click, duplicate. Drag it over here. Right click, duplicate. When they're close together, they snap automatically. So you kind of have to keep them separate. It doesn't really matter. What I'm telling you is create a little library over here of extra things you're going to need. You're going to need this one. So you want to right click, duplicate. You're going to need a bunch of those also. All right. Now I'm going to put these back together before I forget what order they went in. But that's one method that I avoid going crazy and having to rebuild all of these every time. Okay. Just make a bunch of them and then you can just drag them over. All right. We have a repeat until mouse down or key space is pressed. If the key space is pressed or the mouse is down, then go to -145, 0 and stop this script. Okay. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to read all this to you. I'm going to scroll down right there where you can kind of see a little bit of the code block, and I want you to create that. One thing that I look at with something like this is, how, what do I see that's repeating? Well, this blue block, go to X0. It's always X that I can tell. Oh, except for right here. So even if I duplicate it and copy it right here, I do need to change this number from 0 to 1. Now, what is this doing? This is important. We're creating Flappy going up and then down. When he flaps, he goes up. When he doesn't flap, he goes down a little bit. This is going to give the game some realism, so the bird doesn't just sit there and flap perfectly in space without moving. A, realism. B, it makes it a little bit harder to get through those pillars because the bird is rising and falling. This is huge. This is a big part of the game. Don't overlook it. I mean, he only goes up 1 or 2 pixels, but it changes the whole game. So, all right. So get this entire section copied. What I was getting at is that I like to count these blue blocks. Okay. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you should code until you have 5 blue blocks and then code from here down, pretty much the same thing, some repetitions, a few changes here and there, but it is all important. It creates his flapping animation up and down, and it creates some gravity is what it's doing. Okay, so I'm going to count the blue blocks again. So we ended on 5. This is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you can pause the video here if you need to and get all of these code blocks caught up. We just finished down to the 10th blue block. So again, I'm going to drag the code until that 10th blue block is just out of sight. And now we need to create this next section. And this is how I keep track of where I am. Otherwise, you're like, it's so easy to get lost in which line you are at. That's why it's so important, I think, put on some headphones, some music, tune other people out, and focus on the code so you can do it correctly. All right, so speaking of which, where was I? I think that was the 10th. I think. 10th. So 11, 12, 13, 14, 15th. And then I'm going to drag it up until 15 is out of the way. And here's the end of that code block. So 16, 17, 18, 19. And there's your entire code block. Now I'm going to go ahead and go back and count just to make sure I didn't mess you up. Is there really 19 blue blocks? Let's find out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Excellent. I did not lose track. So that big code block you need to get copied in. And now we have sound. All right. When clicked, start the annoying. No, it doesn't say that, but I automatically think that. The Flappy Bird theme song. And then forever, if you're pressing the mouse button or the space bar, make the wing sound. Right? Which I think sounds like flapping. It's right here. I mean, I don't know. It almost sounds like punching in the air and not hitting something, whereas this punching, you hit something. So anyway, if you want to find a different or better sound, fine. But for now, the wing, SFX wing sound works great. Now, one thing that I know, this song drives me crazy only because I've coded this game multiple times and I've heard it for hours and it just drives me crazy. Let me show you a little trick. Simply disconnect the sounds. The code block is still there. You can even put this over here if you want. I like to leave it just because it shows me, hey, there's something that's missing. But now when I play the game, that sound is gone. Right? So you don't have to listen to that song over and over and over again. However, it's making the other sounds, but it's not making the flapping sound. So how do we fix that? Pretty simple, right? Simply just get rid of the Flappy theme song, slide over the rest of the code block, hit play. All right, so now we have everything that we really want except for the annoying music. I would almost be tempted to not use the music and just go dump it. But for now, I'm going to leave it there and just disconnect it. All right, next code block. And we're almost done. These are the last 2 code blocks for Flappy, really. Now, the game is not going to work yet, right? We haven't coded other things. But let's go ahead and talk about backdrops and levels, okay? Now, technically, you really don't need to create new levels. I'm going to offer that as extra credit or a higher grade if you can do that. I mean, I'm giving you the code to do it, so it's not hugely challenging, but if you have time and the motivation to do so, it's really cool. So, excuse me, sore throat. When clicked, set the score to 0. So, right, we're basically, when you click, it turns the score back to 0. I like how it doesn't change the high score. And by the way, that's until you log out. It doesn't stay forever. It's just this session, sadly. But It's better than nothing. All right, so when you click set the score to 0, switch the backdrop to sky. So I have a bunch of backdrops. So under my backdrop stage, it's called, I have a whole bunch of backdrops. Notice how they're not called costumes because this is a backdrop. So I've uploaded a bunch of them, just mostly from Scratch itself, because some of them are really cool. I think some of them would work just fine, but you could definitely use any graphic that you can find that you like. So under Flappy code, we say, hey, we want you to start with the sky backdrop. I wanted to start with the sky backdrop, which is this one. It's kind of the traditional looking Flappy Bird backdrop, and broadcast level change. Now, I'm not really sure why that's even there now that I see it. Oh, I think I just have to, because you'll notice that for every broadcast, there's a receive, okay? So I'm basically saying level change, it's a thing. And then I'm saying when I receive level change, which is like now, wait until the score equals 5, switch backdrop to desert. Wait till the score equals 7, switch backdrop to underwater. Wait until score equals 9, switch backdrop to Arctic. That's it. It's really simple. It's because you'll notice that when I make it through 5 pillars, then it turns into the desert. The columns are different, the pillars are different, and the backdrop is different. Okay. Now, why did I choose 5, 7, and 9? That's really easy. You're right. Because as I'm making the game, I don't want to have to make it to 50 just to see if level 2 works, right? So literally I just chose numbers that were not too easy, but definitely not too hard. I can pretty much do that real quick, okay? So you have control over it right here just by typing in. If you want to type in 50, awesome. And when you make it through the 50th, you are rewarded with a new backdrop and new pillars. Right? And my pillars, like I mentioned before, they get closer and closer together. There are other things you can do with this, of course. You can make them start moving faster. You can add enemies. You can add collectible treasure. Just some really cool things that you could add on to make this game more interesting and fun. If you were to, sell this online, you would have to use a different character than Flappy, because he's, I'm sure, copyrighted, because that is Flappy Bird from Flappy Birds. So you'd have to make your own character. But we're just doing this for fun. You could definitely share with friends. Not a problem. All right, so hey, guess what? That's all the code for Flappy Bird, all of it, okay? We don't need to add anything else. If you didn't get some of it, just go back and watch the video again and pause it until you get all of this code typed in correctly. Another reminder, don't panic if it doesn't work, if it doesn't play like mine does yet, right? That's because we have to code the pillars, the title screen, the music, and the ground, which we will do more of in episode 3, which I will catch you there soon. For now, Mr. Johns is out.